haven't done a video in so long, a proper video, you know, setting up camera and lighting and everything. That feels a bit weird doing another one like this. But I have some thoughts that I wanted to talk to you about. Well, I've had these thoughts for some time, but I wanted to finally put them down on video, so to speak, and to let you know what I think on this particular subject. And this may not be a well-liked video, so I apologize in advance if I'm gonna, let's say, step on anyone's toes or ruffle anyone's feathers, but I have to say these things. Even though I may not be right, I still feel like I have to say them, so bear with me. If you're a long-time subscriber, if you're a newcomer, then I've got a ton of other videos that are very light and friendly, and you're probably going to enjoy those a lot more than you're going to enjoy this video. So this video is about these times that we're going through, and I've got notes here just to make sure that I stay on track, so I'm going to be looking down at them and reading them. Yeah, it's going to be sort of like an old-timey newscast, except this one's going to talk about what I believe to be the truth instead of just pulling the wool over your eyes. And yeah, that's going to be pretty much the meat of my video, so if this is already not for you, then feel free to browse away, it's fine. Right, so I think these times that we're going through are an experience that is meant to force people to realize certain truths that they've chosen to ignore or close their eyes to, or simply weren't aware of until now. So what are some of these truths that are going to be fairly uncomfortable for you to hear? Well, governments aren't there to ensure the well-being of their people. That's one of the truths. They exist mostly to ensure their own survival and expansion, and to watch out for the interests of the few who've either put their own people in key positions of power, or who can claim large influences over the economy. In short, governments become self-serving entities that ensure the well-being of other self-serving entities, not of the people. One very simple example of this is what went on in the financial crash of 2008, 2009, with the housing crisis and everything, where people were out on the streets and big banks were bailed out. Look at what's happening now, where untold amounts of money has been poured into the economy in the US and in other countries, but hasn't gone to the people who are suffering through this pandemic and through losing their jobs and in other ways such as restrictions and lockdowns. No, it's gone once again to big entities. So if you doubt that after going through all of this, yeah, right. These self-serving entities run on pure greed. The only real factor in their decision-making process is how much money they stand to make. It doesn't matter if they ruin the livelihood of people, if they step on them, if they force nations into war or into untenable conditions, such as this pandemic and its business-destroying lockdowns. It doesn't matter how many people die. All that matters to them is wealth. More and more and more of it. It's never enough. It can never be enough. Once they ran out of money based on natural resources, such as gold and silver, because there simply wasn't enough gold and silver in the world to support more money, they changed over to fiat money, to paper money. And once they didn't want to print any more paper money, they switched over to electronic money, of which you can make untold amounts of. And it's never going to be enough, no matter how many zeros get added to certain bank accounts. No matter how good certain quarterly reports look, it's never enough. The general tendency of things in this unreasonable facsimile of life here and now is for living to get more difficult, more expensive, for more God-given rights to be trampled upon. And I'm not talking about the God of religion, the God of churches. It's not what I'm talking about. For freedoms to be curtailed, for more restrictions and more taxes to be put in place. Generally speaking, things will tend to get worse until all of the general population is made destitute and despondent, so that it becomes completely dependent upon the government for some meager UBI, universal basic income. That's the proverbial piece of bread being dangled in front of your eyes now, as you've suffered under the lockdowns and you've lost your jobs. UBI is coming to save you. No, it's not. Provided, of course, that they never dare to open their mouths to criticize said government. It's going to be a very important piece of whatever UBI, Universal Basic Income program, that gets put in place. Right? You even dare to speak something against the government or against the measures being put in place, your UBI gets cut off. So you better shut up and put up. But that state won't be the end of it. No. The population must not only be poor, they must also be fearful. So manipulation of normal thinking will proceed downward to horrific levels of control through the media and through technology, until people break and they become like animals, led wherever governments and other entities want them, used and abused as they please. Planned degradation of what are good values in life will continue in the media, in music, movies, and other forms of entertainment. Everything that was once good and proper will be degraded until nothing remains. Long-term relationships, lifelong marriages, faithful relationships, conservative money management, and I'm not talking about the conservative side of politics. I'm talking about proper money management, where you set money aside, where you spend your money responsibly, that sort of stuff. Caring for one's possessions so they last a lifetime. Caring for one's own home being proud of the upkeep and cleanliness, having a decent job with decent wages, being honest in one's dealings, being hardworking, keeping one's body in good shape and good working order, normal sexual relationships, normal body image. And normal is discussable, right? It's open for discussion. But there are certain things that have been considered the norm for thousands of years, for as long as our civilization has existed, whatever remains of it now. But that's a topic for another video. Classical ideas on beauty, architecture, music, respect between nations and people, and more that I can't remember now. All of these ideas have been under constant attack since the beginning of the 20th century. If you don't believe me, just see what happened to the idea of keeping oneself until marriage, which was widespread at one time. How is it thought of now? And I'm not talking about the stupid medieval ideas of checking for the presence of a hymen. That is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the conscious, self-made decision to not throw yourself around sexually until you find the one that you want to spend your life with. The clock is going. Right. If you're still sticking around after listening to all of that, I thank you. The reality which is presented to us and enforced daily is a pack of lies. We are being purposefully kept in the dark on virtually all issues of importance, such as our true nature, our origins, the meaning of life, the existence and true nature of God, not the one you find in churches. The nature of reality, death and afterlife, our true potential, and much, much more. We are being purposefully blinded to the truth, ridiculed and blamed and shamed if we dare to talk about it or point to it, so that we can be used and abused over and over and over till we are of no more use and we can die in a tortured, withered, broken down shell of a body that is so far from what we could have had, swallowing umpteen pills every day till our internal organs finally collapse and we end up in a grave, food for worms. Right. It sounds pretty horrible when I list all of these things together, doesn't it? This is what's going on, though. Start looking back at important events throughout history and you'll see just how much manipulation and propaganda took place simply to get people to go to war with each other or to accept new laws that screwed them over, that restricted their rights, that imposed new obligations, raised new taxes. Lies. 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 The good news, though, and there is good news here, is that all of this nonsense, this outright abuse of unwitting people, can stop. And all that needs to happen is for enough people to open their eyes to what's really going on, to look around them and assess the situation truthfully, to inform themselves, because there's a ton of information out there that sheds light on the truth, and to finally admit to themselves that this is utterly unacceptable and it needs to stop. No violence, no marches, no stupid hats, no changing of profile pics on social media networks in solidarity with so-and-so. No donations to so-called worthy causes. None of that. Just an honest admission of the truth to one's own self. Looking in the mirror, if it helps. Once that's done, you can spend at least 10 to 15 minutes each day in quiet reflection, imagining a better world. This is all very doable. But it does require facing the truth, which is quite hard for most people. I wish you good luck for the sake of all humanity.